look at that! One cleared out wall ready for a new bench. Welcome to Hack-A-Week. So here we are ready. We are just about ready. I've got to do a little more sweep up and then we're ready to put the workbench in place. And I'm going to take a suggestion from one of the viewers that said, just put a ledger right here, put the workbench on that, legs out here, then I don't need legs in the back. Good idea, and I save lumber. I was trying to make a modular so I could move the benches later, but what the hell. Save a little lumber, mount them right to the wall, makes them that much more solid. So after a little bit of cleanup here, we'll figure out where that ledger is going to go. So as I mentioned in part 1 of this video, I want my workbench at a height of 3 feet. So we're going to put a ledger on this wall right here. I'll measure what it is to the window. The bottom of this window casing is at about 35 3/4, which is not so bad because the wood I've got is almost 3/4 of an inch. So if I put the ledger right at the bottom of this windowsill and then just cut a little notch on the piece of wood that sits in front of the window, I should be at a height of just a little under 3 feet. Good enough for me. So what I'll do now is get a line scored along here, just a rough indicator of where that height is, and then we'll go ahead and find the studs. Then we'll get the 16-foot piece up here, figure out where we need to cut it if we need to cut it. I'm going to take the workbench all the way up. I'm not going to stop it like I was thinking of doing. And I'm also going to modify the cabinet up at this end, take out the bottom shelf, give myself a little more room for some horizontal workspace at that end. So let's see. Let's get this marked out now. As it turns out, this window casing is a little bit lower than 3 feet. Looks like it's about 35 1/4, and it actually changes as it goes over here. It's not level. So I think what I'll do is just pull this lower casing off. It's pretty easy to do. I'm just going to get that out of our way. Just like that. And then I can take this section and just cut a little bit off from it and then let the workbench go right along here. Later on, if I ever pull the workbench out, easy enough to just fix this up, patch it up. You'll never know the difference. Got the gloves back on. It's cold out here today. Woke up this morning to 35 degrees here in North Carolina. I've got a Zircon brand cheapy stud sensor here. These work okay. You just need to double check yourself. Sometimes they'll give you a false reading. When it hits an edge, the light comes on and you can mark it. And then that should be the center of the stud. You can double check just by giving it the tap test. Sounds more solid there and not hollow. And then the studs are on 16-inch centers. So if I go here and just mark 16 inches, there's the next stud. And there's evidence of that right here where someone had something mounted, and also right here and over here. I'm going to take a miter saw, straight edge miter saw, and I'm going to cut away a piece of this casing right here, about 3/4 of an inch above my ledger line. And do the same thing on the other one. Now we're ready to get that ledger up there. Down at this end, I want the workbench to go all the way to this wall. I'm going to take out this whole shelf unit right here. But there's a piece of pine board right here that goes all the way up, and then the shelves are attached to that. It's supporting those shelves. I want to leave that in place. So I think what I'll do is I'll just end the ledger for the workbench right here, and then just put another piece of 2x4 right there, and that'll act as a support for the piece right here. And then the top of the workbench, the plywood I'm going to put on top, OSB, I'll just notch it out right there. I've got a screw started in there. I'm going to take a piece here and move it up to the line and then just run the screw in. Now I've got a place to put my 2x4 temporarily. Now an extra thing I could do is put a little piece of wood right here to hold it for me, but I don't really think I'll need that. I'm just going to go ahead and set the ledger up there, get down at that end and start screwing it into place. Okay, we're ready. Let's lift it up. Be careful with it so it doesn't fall off on the other end. I'll get this up there, get a screw in here, get one in there. Looks like my battery could use a recharge. We'll throw a level up there as we go to make sure everything stays level as I move down the line. And so far we're looking pretty good. Now as I made my way down to this end, I had the level on it the whole way down. There's the difference between up there and down here. The reason for that is the slab of concrete in this garage was actually poured the proper way with a little bit of slope towards the doorway. Okay, the ledger's up. Now I need to cut the pieces that are going to go from the wall out to the outer edge of the bench. I'm really deviating from the plan that I did in part 1, but what the hell, that's okay. I think I'll do my bench 30 inches wide instead of 3 feet. 30 inches is plenty. So if I've got 30 inches and the 2x4 is 1.5 inches wide, I need to multiply 1.5 inches by 2. That's 3 inches. So I need to cut those pieces at 27 inches. I can take this piece, put an M on it. That stands for master. And I can use that as a master. Mark the next one, and so on, until I have all the pieces I need. Now we're going to mark where the cross pieces go, the pieces that come out this way. And I'm going to put one at each end of an 8-foot piece, and then one in the middle. So I'll have a support every 4 feet. And I think I'll just go ahead and run a leg down at every 4 feet as well. Then I'll have a really good solid bench. I can put a lot of weight on it and pound on it with the vices on there, and it'll hold up. So I'll start at this end. Get the tape set there. And we'll come down this way and mark 4 feet. And we'll find the 8-foot mark, which is right there. 4 more feet, that's 12. And then at the very end, 16. So at this point, you're probably wondering, how am I going to attach these guys to this? Shouldn't I have done that ahead of time and run the screws this way? I could have done that, but I can toenail the screws in. I've had really good results with this. I've done it plenty of times, and all you do is drill a hole at an angle like that through the wood on each side, and then you can run a screw in at an angle. So I'll get this where I can drill on it and you can see what I'm doing. Come in about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches from the end. Start your drill at about 90 degrees and then rotate it a bit. And that's what you're after, is just a hole that comes out right about there, about 1 inch in from the end. So it goes in here and comes out there. Let me shove a screw through there and you'll see what I mean. So then you have that part that goes into here. And it should hold just fine. The only thing you have to watch out for when you're putting it on this way is that when you screw it into place, you don't move it up or down as the screw bites in. So what I usually do is I get one of them started, like so, and I go to the other side and I get that one started, and that helps to lock it in. I need to drill the hole in the other side. I haven't done that yet. Now we can go ahead and run that in. Make Make sure we're square. I can just do that by eye. Now we can run them in all the way and sink them right into the wood. Get them in there good and tight. There we go. That's one. All right, that's the last one. Now I can lay the other 16-footer in place and mark where I need to drill holes so that I can put it onto the end. Since I'm working alone on this project and I don't have a helper at the moment, here's another little trick to help you out when you have to do something like this all by yourself. I need to put that piece here and I need to screw it in place all along here, so I can just put a support right here on the end. And we'll just run a screw in there. And now I've got something right here to rest the 2x4 on as I work down that way. Now I can put the 2x4, the 16-footer, on that support. And I can go down to this end and get a screw in here and attach it to this one. Make sure that this is flush with this. And screw it into place. Now I'm putting 2 screws in the end of each one of these 2x4s. The thing I like about screws is they stay together a lot better than nails, and you can always pull it apart later. Now it's time to measure up the height of the legs. I need to make sure that this is level and then measure from this top side to the floor. The leg will go like this behind here and screw in from the back. I've got a long steel ruler here. If I just hold that there and take a look at my level and watch the bubble, I have to push it down a little bit. It's kicked up slightly. And then I can get an exact measurement of just where I need to cut that piece of wood. And I look here in the front and it looks like it is 36 1/4. Let's pre-drill some holes. On the legs I'm going to put 1, 2, 3 screws. Okay, let's screw this in place. That's one. We'll just keep doing that on down the line. Now it's time to cut the top. 30 inches wide. And I'm actually going to mark it at 30 1/4. I want just a little bit of a lip to come past the edge just to make sure that it comes all the way out. Time to cut the top piece. 30 inches is what it measures over there. I'm going to make it 30 1/4 just so I've got a little bit of a lip on that edge. Safety glasses, ear protection. This OSB, or oriented strand board, is smooth on one side and a little bit rough on the other. I'm going to put the smooth side up. I'm going to put the edge that I cut towards the wall and leave the mill edge out here, just because it looks nicer. I'm going to attach this with some 1 1/4 screws. I'm get it forced to the edge here. And no need to pre-drill on this. Just push it in toward the wall to make sure I'm all the way in. And you should be able to countersink them with a good cordless drill. just like that. Now I'm going to go all the way up to this end and push this all the way in. And now I'll just work my way down and put one about every foot. And that is that. We've got a top on the bench. OSB is not 100% smooth. There's a few lumps and bumps in it, so I'm going to pass the random orbital sander over it with an 80 grit pad on there. I'll go ahead and get this edge too, because there's probably a few little pieces that could catch on clothing and whatnot, so we'll put a little chamfer on the edge to keep that from happening. I've added one more ledger underneath here. I've got a couple of supports on the wall to hold it up, and I'm going to screw that in place. That'll serve two functions. It'll let me put a shelf in there, and I can put braces that go from here to here. That'll keep the legs from moving like this, and then across those braces I can add a shelf. Let's make sure all the legs are plumb this way. Now I'll take a level, put it on the ledger back there, get the bubble centered up, and put a mark on the leg, and I know where that piece goes to make it level. So same thing as before, we'll toenail these in. Get them wedged in there. There we go. Put a shelf, at least a partial shelf. Doesn't have to come all the way out. That way I won't bang my knees on it. Put that in there for now. Okay, we'll get a brace in here, help support the shelf, also stabilize the legs even more than they already are. Tight fit there. Yay, it's done. First tool on the bench, the old drill press. Excellent. I'm so glad to have this thing finished. It's dark outside right now. I spent the better part of a 7-hour day putting this thing together. Pretty happy about it. Good suggestion from that viewer on that ledger instead of legs in the back. Good idea. Just worked out a whole lot better. As you can see, I deviated from my plan quite a bit, but the main reason for the plan was just to get a rough idea of materials. I do stuff like this a lot. I'll draw up a plan, get a shop drawing, and then once I get to work, a lot of times I'll change things on the fly. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, you kind of see things as you go that you didn't think of ahead of time. That's the way I like to do stuff. So I'm looking forward to having this space to work on. CB750 will certainly be a little easier to work on now that I have all this space. And I'll get some stuff up here eventually to hang up tools, get some shelves overhead, rework all this cabinetry down at the other end. Looking forward to doing that. It's just a matter of finding the time. So there we go. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for subscribing and the donations. Like it, share it. And Thanksgiving's coming up. Next weekend we got a special one for that. So be sure to check in there. Has to do with food. Anyway, till next time, I'm going to dance on my workbench now. Woo! As I mentioned before, hairball.